65 years ago, Turkey sent Germany its workers. This year, Germany is sending Turkey its factories. And the German companies making the move are choosing 30% inflation on purpose. It's October 1961, a train platform in Istanbul, Sirkeci Station. A man stands in line holding a cardboard suitcase. He's passed the medical exam. He's signed a work contract written in a language he cannot read. The train behind him ends in Munich, 3 days away. He is one of hundreds of thousands. Germany needs hands, and Turkey has them. So he boards. For 60 years, that was the direction the future moved, toward Germany. This year, the cargo on that route is German factory equipment moving the other way. This is the story of why the magnet flipped. Here's the system in one sentence. For 60 years, Germany was the strongest industrial magnet on Earth. It pulled energy, capital, and labor and turned them into the most valuable exports in Europe. That magnet ran on one input: cheap energy. We covered how Germany destroyed it. That's video 8, linked below. This video is about what physics does next. Because when a magnet dies, the metal doesn't stay put. It moves to the next field. Poland caught the first wave. We also covered that. Turkey is catching the second, and the second wave is bigger, stranger, and much harder to reverse. If you hold almost any global index fund, some of what's moving is yours. If this is the kind of thing you want explained without the noise, the like button lets the algorithm know. And subscribing gets you the rest. We publish multiple times a week. Back to it. Start with 1961, because nothing about this year makes sense without it. West Germany's factories were booming and empty at the same time. The machines existed, the workers didn't. So in October of 1961, Bonn signed a labor recruitment agreement with Ankara, and one of the largest worker migrations in modern European history began. They called them Gastarbeiter, guest workers. By 1973, roughly 870,000 Turkish workers had made the journey. They assembled the cars, they ran the presses, they built the post-war German miracle with their hands, and many never went home. Today, close to 3 million people of Turkish descent live in Germany. That was the magnet at full strength. Labor crossed a continent to reach German capital. Hold that image, because an economy is a magnet. Capital and labor move toward wherever they earn the highest return, and they feel a change in the field before any politician admits one is actually happening. In 2022, the field changed. So why Turkey? Not Vietnam, not Mexico, not Poland. We covered Poland, and Poland is filling up. 3 reasons, in sequence. The first, Turkey already makes the cars. Ford builds nearly every transit van it sells in Europe to Kosali. Fiat, Renault, Toyota, Hyundai, all running Turkish production lines for decades. Bosch has been manufacturing in Bursa since the 70s, and the number 1 customer for Turkish-built vehicles and parts? Germany. This isn't a country learning to manufacture, it's a country Germany already trained. The second, Turkey ships like it's inside the EU, without being inside the EU. The customs union, in force since 1966. Industrial goods cross into the European single market with no tariffs and no quotas. A factory in Bursa reaches a customer in Frankfurt on the same terms as a factory in Bavaria, without Bavarian energy bills, without Bavarian wages, without Bavarian permits. And the third, the math of who shows up to work. Germany's median citizen is in their mid-40s. Turkey's is 34. One country's factories are aging out. The other has the youngest, largest industrial workforce anywhere on the EU's border, at a fraction of the cost. Stack those 3, a trained workforce, frictionless access, youth, and cost. That's not an opportunity. That is a magnet. And the record shows it. 8,250 German companies now operate in Turkey. The German-Turkish Chamber of Commerce calls Turkey a strategic production hub. Their words, this year. Even China sees the same field. BYD is building its European car plant, not in Europe, in Turkey. Every one of them did the same math. Now here's the part that should stop you. Turkey is not a stable place to put a factory. Inflation there is running nearly 30%. The lira has lost most of its value over the past decade. Interest rates would be a five-alarm crisis in any Western economy. 30% inflation is not a footnote. It's the kind of number that normally ends the conversation. In Germany, industrial firms looked at all of it, the inflation, the currency, the politics, and they chose it anyway. Sit with that. The most conservative industrial planners on earth, companies that measure decisions in decades, ran the numbers and concluded that 30% inflation in Turkey is a better bet than the cost of energy in Germany. That is not a compliment to Turkey, it's a verdict on Germany. When Siegwerk, a German painting ink maker in business since 1830, announced it was closing its Alpine production site and expanding outward in Turkey instead, the press release talked about cost structures at unprecedented levels. Companies don't flee to instability, unless what they're leaving is worse. And now, 2026 is compressing a slow migration into a fast one. German industrial electricity still costs roughly 3 times what an American factory pays, and the war premium in energy markets this year made that gap worse, not better. German industrial output has been shrinking for years. Growth is stuck under 1%. And the German Chamber of Commerce's own surveys now show a rising share of industrial companies planning to move production out of Germany, the highest readings in the survey's history. Every quarter, Berlin doesn't fix the energy input. The queue at the exit gets longer. And Turkey is standing at the door with the shortest path out. So here's the number that ends the doubt about scope. Trade between Germany and Turkey now runs at roughly $50 billion a year, an all-time high, and climbing while Germany's own economy shrinks, 8,250 German companies. If those firms were a single industrial city, it would rank among the largest employer bases in Germany itself. Now, the honest caveats, because this channel doesn't sell one-way stories. Turkey could still fumble this. 30% inflation is survivable for exporters earning euros. It is brutal for the Turkish worker paid in lira. The politics are genuinely unpredictable, and the entire advantage rests on one document, the customs union. If Brussels ever weaponizes that agreement, the shortest path out of Germany closes overnight. This isn't Turkey winning because Turkey is flawless. It's Turkey winning because Germany made everyone else's flaws affordable. So, why does this reach you, dear viewer? Because the phone in your hand, the car in your driveway, and the retirement account you don't check often enough all sits downstream of where industrial production physically lives. German autos and chemicals are wired through American import prices, American supply chains, and the European holdings inside almost every global index fund. When the factories move, the map your money lives on moves with them. Name the system one final time. For 60 years, Germany was the magnet. Capital, machines, and people moved toward it, including 1 million Turkish workers who boarded trains at Sirkeci with one-way tickets. Energy costs flipped the polarity. Now the factories board the ships. Here's the number to watch. Every year, the German Chamber of Commerce surveys its own industrial companies and asks one question: are you planning to move production out of Germany? That number has been climbing, and right now it sits near 4 to 10. If it keeps rising, this video is the early chapter of a migration measured in decades. If it stalls, Berlin found a way to flip the magnet back, and perhaps Turkey stays a satellite, not a successor. Watch the survey, not the speeches. Because the workers who left Sirkeci in 1961, they were the first to know which direction the future was moving. If this earned it, hit the like and subscribe. We publish multiple times a week. The German collapse video and the Poland video are on the screen now. That's the first wave of this story. Drop a comment with the system you want decoded next. I read every one.